Thanks. Today we're going to be talking about maximizing virtual productivity in times of COVID, or in any times for that matter. But I think everybody can agree these have been strange times in the last year, and a lot of people have been, or most people, I should say, have been working from home. So welcome to the Zoom age. Those over a certain age might notice a familiar face in the bottom right quadrant. I just had a copy of Paul Linden there from Hollywood Squares, because that's what all these Zoom calls remind me of. The old Hollywood Squares show, or some say the Brady Bunch, but at any rate, these are definitely different times. So let me move forward here. So before all this started happening, um, this isn't the first time people worked remotely. There were people that worked, there was actually a trend towards working remotely before that. And, there was several reasons why that was happening. One is just flexibility. People were coming to expect it, especially millennials and the newer generation were coming to expect that flexibility of being able to work from home, at least on occasion. Also, because of budget reasons, there were growing travel restrictions. I remember the days when companies would send you overseas just for either diplomatic purposes or just to show your face or whatever, and then that became you don't travel unless it's a must with a lot of organizations. There also has been a shift from brick and mortar to operations to online, which caused a lot more virtual work and geographic expansion alone, not to mention mergers and acquisitions. So in a lot of cases, people were not in the same location. They were either working remotely, if not from home, at least the organizations were distributed, and which is a lot of the same, presents a lot of the same challenges. So there's a study here called, and there's an article, Anxiety, Stress, and Loneliness, COVID's Toll on the Lives of Workers. And it was a global study, 28 country study for the World Economic Forum. And this paints a somewhat scary picture. It says 56% of employees have increased anxiety around job security when things were starting to switch to more virtual work. A little over half were stressed because of changes in work routines and the organization in general. A lot were stressed, almost half, because of family pressures about child care and things of how they're going to handle certain things. A little more than half struggled with work-life balance. Uh, Almost half felt lonely or isolated, or struggling with inadequate home setup. They didn't have the right equipment. But keep in mind, I have a little note on the right here that this was a global study. So some areas, such as, for instance, Japan and Europe and the US, fared much better. So these numbers were much higher in some of the Western countries. Others, such as Peru, Malaysia, Colombia, and so on, tended to struggle more. So those numbers were lower. So this was an average. So with this, I always like to present a caveat whenever we see studies like that, which is a great quote from Benjamin Disraeli, who said, "There are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics." So with that, let's look at more statistics. So I always like to keep in mind whenever I look at these surveys and statistics, who were they surveying, where, and when, and because a lot of that, really influences the numbers we're looking at. So this was from an article, It's Time to Reimagine How, Where, and How Work Will Get Done. And this was from a PwC study that took place in the US. And this paints a rosier picture. 83% of employers now say the shift to remote work has been successful. That's 83%. Fewer than 20% of executives said they want to return to the office as it was pre-pandemic. However, 87%, most employees say they agree that the office is important for collaborating with team members and building relationships, but that doesn't mean they want to do it every day. So they're saying, yes, it's important to get together, but how often do we need to do it? So 61% of employees, they'd like to return half time to the office more slowly than the employers were expecting. But they all, when surveyed, and you look at numerous studies, and they're showing at least half, usually more, of both employers and employees only expect that in the future they'll only be on site half time at some point, and a lot of them don't expect to be full time like things were before. Over half of employees would prefer to be remote at least 3 days a week. So these are some interesting, I think, some interesting observations here. From the same study, some key findings. 34% of the least experienced workers, those are people that have been employed 0 to 5 years in their position, are more likely to feel less productive while working remotely versus 23% for the others. Of course, the flip side of that is 70 to 80% of people, no matter how experienced you are, feel equally or more productive working remotely. So, the productivity seems to have been at least the same and in many cases improved working remotely. Most executives, 87%, expect to make changes to their real estate strategy over the next year to accommodate remote work. So it's here to stay, I think. 79% of employees say they have more flexibility to manage family matters. Some results that came out of that study, some key success factors that were pointed out are one is a strong collaboration culture. So certainly a key success factor is having a culture of collaboration to begin with, less hierarchical, access to information, where people have ready access to the information they need. Customer focus. I always say the customer is the glue that brings organizations together. When in doubt, or when organizations or parts of the organization disagree, the customer focus can often be used to bring people together. Virtual and mobile technology. Reducing Zoom fatigue, which is a very real thing, by minimizing meetings. Some people, initially they went Zoom crazy and everybody was in Zoom meetings all day long, which is, can be exhausting after a while. So certainly the ones that were most successful were cognizant of the impact of Zoom fatigue. Flexible resource scheduling, allow for that flexibility. Management and employee training, not just training in the tools and the habits that you need to be successful with remote work, but training in general, making sure that people have the training they need to be successful because they're not always on site and working with people regularly. Solutions for childcare is certainly something to address. So those were success factors according to this study. I always like to insert a reminder that we talked about, people working remotely might need, will need training. And just a reminder that some people will need coaching. One of the best management books I've ever read was The Situational Leader by Hersey and Blanchard. I highly recommend it. And the idea was to adapt your leadership style to the situation, not just the person, because the same person could need directing in one area and just you could delegate to them in another area. So they might be much more comfortable doing one thing than they are in another. So you can adapt your leadership style depending on what it is they're doing. So situational leadership, you would rotate through 4 leadership styles depending on the situation and the person. Directing, you might say, okay, do this, then do this, tell them exactly what to do. Whereas coaching, you're just coaching them along, saying, giving them some tips and advice and offering a helping hand. Supporting is really turning it over to them and saying, I'm here if you need me, ask.
Hi there, hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also gaining complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN2EARN, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time and best wishes for your continued success.